Good day, ladies and gentlemen. It is I, once again, the resident movie lover himself, Justin, Bridgewater's Finest on YouTube, Blockbuster_guy on Twitter, and welcome back to the 2013 Bridgewater's Finest Awards, presented in conjunction and co-promoted with the Resident Movie Lover blog at residentmovielover.blogspot.ca. Now, we kicked things off in the previous video by presenting a whole bunch of new awards we had never presented before. Best Action, Best Drama, Best Comedy, Best Sci-Fi Fantasy, Best Cheater Film. We gave away a whole bunch, and we did a whole lot in the last video. In this video, we're going to come back to a little bit of the tried, tested, and true. There's going to be 3 very familiar awards here for you if you've watched the award show in the past, and really, why wouldn't you? And we're going to be giving away 1 brand new award which we have never awarded on this show before. So let's get into it. We're going to kick things off with the fan favorite and familiar I Expected More award. Now, these aren't necessarily movies that I disliked, but the I Expected More award goes to 3 movies that were either the victim of high expectations, otherwise known as too hyped, or simply just failed to deliver on the promises that the trailer made, or just the movie's potential in my eyes. So one more time, 3 movies are going to get the I Expected More treatment. Number 3 in the award for I Expected More from this movie is The Last Exorcism Part 2. I know what you're thinking. How dare you have the balls to put a horror movie, not just a horror movie, a sequel horror movie on this list? Well, let me let you know. I really liked the original. I really liked the first Last Exorcism. I thought it was a really, really solid horror movie. One of the most solid horror movies that I'd seen in years. But when I saw this movie, I thought, my God, the writing in this movie has gotten explicitly worse than it was in the first one. And upon doing my research, I found that not only did they add new writers, but one of the new writers was the director of the movie. And that to me is inexcusable. When you add more writers and the writing gets tangibly worse, I'm sorry, that is inexcusable. Above and beyond that, The Last Exorcism Part 2 does not build tension nearly as well as the first one did. It was not scary, which the first one, of course, had its scary moments. And just to be perfectly honest, it did not live up to the first one. I know we can say that about a lot of sequels, but that is why The Last Exorcism Part 2 is number 3 in my award for I Expected More. Number 2 in the award for I Expected More was The World's End. Now, this might be burying the lead a little bit, but you're probably going to hear about The World's End in a later video, wink wink, and I'm going to let you know, I didn't dislike this movie at all. I liked The World's End. I thought it was a really solid comedy. Here's my problem. This is entirely a victim of too many expectations. Very high expectations for a movie done by Nick Frost, Simon Pegg, and Edgar Wright, because their other 2 movies, Hot Fuzz and Shaun of the Dead, were fantastic. Couple of the funniest movies that I've ever seen. And it's not that The World's End wasn't funny. I get Edgar Wright was trying to do a couple of different things with this movie. I would argue that this movie is probably better written than Hot Fuzz and Shaun of the Dead were. It tried to do more things. And I rated this movie about an 80 out of 100. So, I mean, that's quite good on my scale. But it just didn't live up to Shaun of the Dead, and especially didn't live up to Hot Fuzz. And unfortunately, that lands The World's End as number 2 on my list of I Expected More. And the number 1 movie that I expected more from in 2013, The Great Gatsby. The Baz Luhrmann almost fucked one of my favorite books. Baz Luhrmann's The Great Gatsby is full of over-the-top bullshit. That's the best way that I can describe it. It's way over the top. His classic shots of fewer than 6 seconds verve, he can never hold on anything to save his soul. It looks pretty, but is a creative clusterfuck. It is just not a good movie. Why are you playing Jay-Z in the movie that's set in 1922? I'm sorry, Baz, that's dumb. I don't know why in the world that would be a creative choice that you would make in your movie. And you know what, Baz? If your creative direction was the only thing wrong with your directing style, that might be okay for some other people. But you made Leonardo DiCaprio, who is basically a national treasure at this point, he's so good. You made Leonardo DiCaprio look foolish in the role of Jay Gatsby. He is not a good Gatsby, not in the least. Tobey Maguire is actually a really good Nick Carraway, but Leo DiCaprio is not a good Jay Gatsby in the least, and for all of these reasons, and there are bucket loads more, it makes me so mad I'm wiping my eyes. The Great Gatsby by Baz friggin' Luhrmann is my number one. I expected way more from this movie. Now we're going to get into an award that we have never given out before. I figured, I expected more. Why don't I take a look at the other side of that coin? So this is the 3 movies that I expected less from. There were 3 movies, again it's the exact opposite, that I either had low or no expectations for whatsoever, which either greatly surpassed the few expectations I had, or did a great job of being what it wanted to be. Number 3 on the list of I expected less from this movie is A Haunted House. So what I expected from A Haunted House was basically a lower budgeted Scary Movie 3 clone with bad jokes and bad execution and just being stupid. What I got from the movie was actually Scary Movie 1 quality, which I've mentioned before. I thought the first Scary Movie was a really good spoof movie, and A Haunted House got back to those roots of really good spoof with fresh and funny jokes. And this is probably as good as Marlon Wayans has been in a decade. So A Haunted House, you really surpassed my expectations, and that lands you as number 3 on the list of I expected less from this movie. Number 2 on the list of I expected less from this movie is Beautiful Creatures. What did I expect from this movie? Typical Twilight stupidity. Like, that's really what I expect from most young adult adaptations of books, because a lot of the books are terribly written, so why would the movie and the screenplays be any better? And I might be alone in saying this. It was a good year in my eyes for young adult adaptations. Now look, I don't read young adult novels. I'm not the audience for it, and I understand that. And a lot of people don't like these movies like Beautiful Creatures and The Host and things like that. I actually thought they were good for what they were. They're not trying to be these great cinematic epics. They're trying to entertain their core audience. You know what? It had entertaining performances. I was genuinely entertained by Beautiful Creatures, and I didn't think I was going to be. So I have to do it. Beautiful Creatures lands at number 2 on my list of I expected less. And number 1 on my list of I expected less, the movie that I expected probably the least from any of them, and arguably got the most from, Warm Bodies. Speaking of young adult adaptations, I expected a thoroughly stupid movie with stupid people doing stupid things involving stupid zombies. Literally, that's what I expected when I walked in and sat down. And what I got from Warm Bodies was a warm, no pun intended, funny, extremely well executed teen dramedy. Another example of, again, what I thought was a good year for young adult adaptations. Again, I'm probably alone in saying that. It's not the surprise, but it's definitely one of them. I didn't think I was going to be nearly as entertained as I was by Warm Bodies, so I had got to give it to it. Warm Bodies, number 1 in my list, my award for I expected less. Okay, folks, let's move back to the familiar. We are going to go ahead with I Can't Believe I Hated This Movie, because it's always a little more fun to bitch, right? I Can't Believe I Hated This Movie. The award goes to that one movie. The one movie that I probably had every reason to enjoy based on the genre, the people that were in it, the director, what have you. I probably had every reason in the world to like this movie, but ultimately was in reality given no reason to give a damn about it. And my winner for the award for I Can't Believe I Hated This Movie in 2013 goes to A Good Day to Die Hard. And boy, has this franchise ever died hard. It is hard for me to believe how bad the Die Hard franchise has become, especially given the fact that I actually kind of enjoyed Die Hard 4. But this movie might as well have been subtitled Die Hard 5, whatever. This movie was a hollow bunch of nothing. You had superficial performances, superficial action. There's a difference between not taking yourself seriously and becoming a parody of yourself, and not in a good way. And Die Hard has become a parody of itself, and not in a good way. So, ladies and gentlemen, the once king of action movies now becomes the clown prince of bad action movies. A Good Day to Die Hard is my winner for I Can't Believe I Hated This Movie. But let's finish her up on a high note. I can't believe I loved this movie. Now this is that one movie that I was either set up from the beginning to dislike, I didn't expect to enjoy it as much as I did, or one that completely came out of nowhere to totally blow me away. That's the angle I'm going to take on it. And in 2013, there was no movie that came out of nowhere and blew me away as a great movie more than my award winner for I Can't Believe I Loved This Movie, Prisoners. This is probably the best Jake Gyllenhaal I've seen in years. No, it's easily the best Jake Gyllenhaal I've seen in years. This movie has an excellent building of suspense. It's disturbing without horrific violence. It doesn't need horrific violence to be uncomfortable. It's got amazing performances in it, not just from Gyllenhaal, but by virtually everybody else in the cast. It's conventionally beautiful, like it's shot in a very conventional style, but it's done really, really well, which is a tribute to Denis Villeneuve, who's the director. And it doesn't cop out with your stupid, tropey stuff that you could put in action drama movies and these suspense thrillers that sometimes they get really tropey and really generic, and Prisoners doesn't do that. So I was very impressed with that, and I just sitting there watching the movie and I couldn't believe how much I was really digging on it. So congratulations to Prisoners. You are my winner for I Can't Believe I Loved This Movie in 2013. That's going to be it for this video, folks. Thank you very much for taking the time to stop by. We're going to see you on the next video, continuing the 2013 Bridgewater's Finest Awards in conjunction with the Resident Movie Lover blog at residentmovielover.blogspot.ca. We'll see you next time.